The Magic Elves and the Shoemakers' Secret Helpers. Once upon a time, in a little village, there lived a kind but poor shoemaker and his wife. The shoemaker was very good at making shoes, but times were tough, and he had very little money left. One evening, he found that he only had enough leather to make one last pair of shoes. He cut the leather carefully and left it on his workbench, planning to finish the shoes the next morning. The shoemaker and his wife went to bed, feeling worried about their future. But little did they know, something magical was about to happen. During the night, two tiny elves with nimble fingers appeared in the shoemaker's workshop. They wore little green outfits and had cheerful smiles on their faces. The elves looked at the leather on the workbench and decided to help. They worked quickly and quietly, stitching and sewing with great skill. By the time the sun rose, the elves had finished making the most beautiful pair of shoes the shoemaker had ever seen. Then, they vanished as mysteriously as they had appeared. In the morning, the shoemaker was amazed to find the stunning shoes on his workbench. "Look, dear wife," he exclaimed, "these shoes are perfect. Who could have made them?" His wife was just as surprised and delighted. The shoemaker put the shoes in his shop window, and soon, a wealthy customer came in and bought them for a high price. With the money, the shoemaker was able to buy enough leather to make 2 more pairs of shoes. That night, he cut the leather and left it on his workbench, just like before. And again, the 2 magical elves appeared and made 2 more pairs of beautiful shoes while the shoemaker and his wife slept. This wonderful pattern continued night after night. The shoemaker would leave the leather out, and the elves would craft exquisite shoes that sold for good prices. The shoemaker and his wife were no longer poor. They became very successful and were able to help others in their village. One night, the shoemaker and his wife decided to stay awake and hide behind the curtains to see who was making the shoes. They were amazed when they saw the 2 little elves working so diligently. The shoemaker's wife whispered, "These elves have helped us so much. We should do something nice for them." The shoemaker agreed. They noticed that the elves were wearing old, worn-out clothes. So, the shoemaker and his wife decided to make new outfits for them. The wife sewed tiny clothes, and the shoemaker made little shoes. They left these gifts on the workbench instead of leather. That night, the elves arrived and were thrilled to find the new clothes and shoes. They quickly put them on and danced around in delight. The elves were so happy with their new outfits that they decided their work was done. They waved goodbye and disappeared, never to be seen again. From that day on, the shoemaker and his wife continued to make beautiful shoes and lived happily ever after, always grateful for the kindness and help they had received from the magical elves. This magical story reminds us that every act of kindness and gratitude creates a cycle of goodwill and helps us succeed.